When you think about areas of, so-called natural spaces that folks want to preserve for their beauty and everything, a lot of those ecosystems are in the conditions they are because they were maintained by indigenous people for centuries and centuries. We had used fire on a regular basis to maintain these landscapes, these ecosystems, and so that's one reason the red pines have been able to exist this long, and that's because the red pines, along with many other more than human relatives, are fire dependent. When you look back in history and think about all the different federal policies and government acts and whatnot, we lost our children, the trees also lost their children, and eventually those forests went silent. So we've been looking at the fire history on Wisconsin and Minnesota Point. On both points, we found consistently that there were definitely regular fire intervals up until the time of the signing of the treaty, so the mid-1800s or so.
We do have some nice sections of white pine from Minnesota Point. So if we want to look at some of these fire scar samples, that's where the story I think gets really interesting. Come on in, here's our wood shop. So we'll start at 40 grit with a belt sander and then go to 80. Already, here's that first fire scar and it's becoming more evident. Sanding with 120, 220 next, 320 next, we go up to 400. Let's go check it out on scope. So in this tree, born on 1776, carrying fire scars in 1804, 1829, 1843. You see the fires on both points cease abruptly after the signing of the 1842 and 1854 treaties. And it is undeniable in this case that the reason that we love the points and protected the pine forest on Minnesota Point is because of the fires that people were setting. They're there because of the fires. And so that act of protecting to move people out of that space is literally dooming the things that we're hoping to protect.
We're seeing with this work in ways that I can't put words to that it's time for fire to come back. The one thing that we've been learning is that as we start to return to fire and return fire to these areas, that fire can actually bring us a lot of healing. And so not to just us, but these lands and these trees and the plants that are just sitting there and waiting for fire to return. So yeah, it's been a whole moving thing every step of the way with this work.